Just a disclaimer before I get into this. For this one video, I might block comments simply because the people that I'll be talking about, I don't want them to gravitate here as well. Um, I'm thinking about it. I'm not 100% sure that I will do that, but it kind of defies the point that I'm going to be talking about if I give them yet another platform. Um, Honestly, I'm a little bit fed up with them. Not to the point that's going to, put me off continuing what I'm doing on this channel, but it does get a little tiresome having to put up with trolls. It really does. And I noticed they came to my video about racists being emboldened, um, and it's just so obvious that they didn't bother listening to what I was saying. I wasn't even specifically talking about the Novak case or the events around that. I was actually referring to a case in Newcastle where some Asian men had been verbally harassed by some white racists. But the thing is, if they'd actually bothered listening to the video, if they'd bothered reading the description, they would see that I've also condemned anti-white racism. But there is a certain kind of person that comes to my channel, and I have to say, my experience, whilst I've had different points of view with the left and the right, my honest experience is it's a lot more from the right. The trolling comments I get are a lot more from the right. I've had left-wing comments that I strongly disagree with, but frankly, they're more mature. I don't agree with them, but those individuals are simply voicing their opinion. And they're not attacking me in a personal way. And so I try to respond to them in a direct way without being too personal. Although on certain subjects I admit like crime and justice is something I do feel strongly about. But regardless, I honestly feel that that's a noticeable thing. Most of the trolls I've had to deal with have been from the right. Even though I've made numerous videos that could be described as conservative or right wing. And my left wing viewers, you will know this. Because you've disagreed with me, you'll know that I definitely sway to the right at times, especially on crime and justice. So that's why it's kind of frustrating to have these idiots label me a leftist and all the rest of it. I'm not. But I am against racism, and I make no apology for calling out racists, whether they be white racists, whether they be black racists, Asian racists, you name it. When Black Lives Matter was in full swing, I was pretty critical of it. I was critical of the fact that they weren't really doing anything to build bridges, the fact that they had anti-white components within them. I've just made a video talking about the famous boxer Muhammad Ali and why I think he was a racist. But all of that is wasted on these people because they home in on one video or one or two videos and they think they know me. They think they've got me all worked out. And I will never, I'll never get tired of seeing the irony of people hiding behind fake accounts, calling me a card, calling me someone who follows the crowd. Now, I don't say I'm right about everything, but I do stick my head out. I'm showing my face. I do think carefully about any given issue, a lot more than some of you clowns do. Some of you might, some supporters might question me retorting in kind, but honestly, I don't really feel like I need to be diplomatic or polite to people who are trolling me. As far as I'm concerned, it's gloves off. They insult me, I'll insult them straight back. I do think the cards, and I've got nothing but the deepest contempt for these people. They're like flies. They're like little buzzing noises around a man who's simply trying to speak with his conviction. I mean, this isn't just we disagree with what you're saying. It's we're not going to bother listening and we're going to try and get under your skin because we're too cowardly to come up with a real argument. And you could just see the level of derangement in their comments. I had one comment and she said, Rupert Lowe is going to deport millions. No, he's not. It's highly unlikely Restore will get very far for one thing, reform has more traction, but you know, I think you're deluded if you think Rupert Lowe's going to get very far in this country. I could be wrong, but I'd be very surprised. Secondly, deporting millions. You know, even in Trump's America, that isn't working the way they want it to. So that's just a fantasy land. You have to think it's a pretty deranged response when someone makes a video simply criticising racist abuse and talking about how racists feel more empowered, that a video like that will attract such animosity. So I think it's a fair conclusion to say the people who are lashing out about that and getting defensive about it are racists. You know, the very sort of dregs that think it's perfectly okay to get yourselves tanked up on Stella or whatever it is you drink and harass strangers. The sort of Neanderthal yobs who go to England matches and shout Ingerland at the top of their lungs and, you know, trash whichever city they're in. I just think that these people are the personification of pathetic. People who defend ugly, regressive attitudes and not just defend it, but then create their fake little accounts to troll a guy who's speaking out against it. I think they hate me because I'm a voice of reason. It's not the same as saying that I know everything, but I do reflect carefully on given subjects, even subjects that I feel strongly about, like crime and justice. Someone accused me of not trying to see the other side. Well, on the subject of crime and justice, I've always said I support rehabilitation, I support tackling the root causes, which is ostensibly what left-leaning people would advocate, but I am hardline on crime. So how anyone can accuse me of not being open-minded? And as for one genius said, I don't see both sides. Well, what exactly is the other side when you have a drunk yob yelling racist abuse at someone? That's not an equilibrium, that's not a 50-50 situation. If you're stupid enough to believe it is, you deserve ridicule. But I stand by 100% what I said. I think these people have been emboldened. And the fact that they're flooding my channel, I'm a white guy. Imagine the sort of manure they would be throwing at someone who's not white for saying something similar. But they're too stupid to realise that I am consistent. I have a problem with minorities who think that they can't be racist. You can be racist. Anyone can be racist. But you know, it's so tiring having to... This is why I just don't bother responding to most of them. I happen to just done it tonight because, you know, the thing is the ad hominem attacks don't bother me that much. What does bother me is people gaslighting my comments, distorting what I've said, or clearly not bothering to listen to what I've said. I really don't feel that bothered by comments that are just so childish and so petty that, I mean, how can I be bothered by a comment by, you know, attacking my whatever top I'm wearing? It's just such cheap, shallow, void comments. I mean, genuinely not too bothered by that. I admit I'm a bit more bothered by people who deliberately distort what I've said or deliberately ignore what I've said. I'm a hell of a lot more open-minded than these knuckle draggers who think that thuggish, yobbish behaviour is somehow going to save the country. And to people who cheer on Trump and Vance and Musk, and you think you can lecture the rest of us about patriotism? You know, pack up your bags and piss off. That's what I think of you. You dare to say that I don't love my country because I'm speaking out against these toxic things that are bringing us down? Do you really think, in your puny little brains, that setting fire to bins and cars, throwing things at the police is going to improve this country? Are you so stupid to attack a guy who has criticised both left and right and portray him as some sort of woke leftist, which I'm not? But you know, this rubbish definitely comes more from the right. That's just the truth. I don't really get left-wing trolls to the same extent. I very well could. I mean, there's videos I make where I am very critical of the left. But it's a waste of time trying to reason with these people. It's a complete waste of time trying to say, look, I agree with you on that. Here's the irony. Here's the irony. There may be some areas I actually do agree with them on. What happened in Southampton was a disgrace. We do need an inquiry into the police conduct there. And I haven't even said that two-tier policing doesn't exist. I don't agree with Starmer on that. I do think there is some issues around that. But I do agree with Starmer that there's no place for foreign interference. The fact that J.D. Vance thinks he can interfere in this country when they're actively trying to crush dissent in the United States, when ICE killed 2 American citizens earlier this year. I mean, these useful idiots who cheer on Trump and Vance and Musk, they don't seem to care about that. And they call me stupid. But like I say, my purpose for these videos is not to try to reason with these people. I think it's a waste of time. You can't reason with extremists. You can't reason with people who are so blinded by rage that they just have no comprehension of nuance, of considering that not everything is binary. So, for example, the fact that I criticise foreign interference and I think the Prime Minister is right to call that out doesn't mean I support Starmer in every area. Just because I happen to agree with Starmer on some issues doesn't mean I agree with him on everything. And if you think that I do, you know. So it's just ironic that I get criticised by people who think that they're open-minded and think that they're enlightened and think that they're patriots. Waving around an England flag doesn't make you a patriot. Hurling racist abuse at someone doesn't make you a patriot. Trolling people, hiding behind fake accounts doesn't make you a patriot. I've got friends from all backgrounds, so yeah, I do take it personally. You know, the idea that they might or might not be subjected to abuse by brain-dead yobs, yeah, I take it personally. And I stand by 110% by what I've said. If that triggers you people, good. Good. It has to be said. Racists have been emboldened. And I think we see evidence of this because they act with impunity. And you know, you people think that we live in a dictatorship. You come out with your manure. You know, I saw Fred on, I think it was to do with Zelensky's visit to London, and it was just nothing but vitriol towards the Prime Minister. Now, if we live in a dictatorship, by definition you wouldn't be able to do that. But there's a lack of common sense there. Again, they're so blinded by their rage and their hatred, they can't see it. We have serious problems in this country, and I've never suggested otherwise, but I will push back against people who only want to serve as useful idiots for Trump and Musk and Vance. And I mean what I say. You think America's better? You know, do yourselves a favour. Pack up and leave. At least Bev Turner of GB News has the decency to reside in the United States whilst she's, you know, running down this country. But I'm sick and tired of the far right hiding behind UK flags and England flags and saying they're the only ones who care about patriotism. You know, those of us who actually care about this country see the cancer that's coming into our midst. You know, bad faith actors who are wanting to spread hatred and crude generalizations of entire groups and just spread their poison. And you can be damn sure wherever there is a tragedy, you'll get grifters like Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe will latch onto it like parasites to feed off the anger, to feed off the rage. And I'm not saying that we should be passive about things, but I think they're con men. I really, really do. I mean, I would point out, I would reiterate that all of these people, all these protesters are ignoring the wishes of the Novak family who don't want their son's murder to be exploited for division. and you're seeing comments online, deport all Sikhs. You know, it's apparently there's also been a rise in hate crimes against the Sikh community. I'm not at all surprised. It's terrible, but I'm not surprised by it. Although I would say minorities who support the likes of Tommy Robinson, I hope you're starting to wake up now and realise that you're just shooting yourselves in the foot. Because look what's happened. I remember it wasn't long ago where there were Sikhs joining Robinson's march in London. And yet now they're being subjected to this backlash because of the actions of one man. So I think minorities who support the far right, you know, they need to wake up and realise they're shooting themselves in the foot. They may think it's not against me, it's against the Muslims, it's against whatever community is the target of the day. But then they'll find that they end up being the targets. So I don't understand minority people who support the far right. It doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like Stockholm Syndrome or something. How am I going to go forward with this? It's just too time consuming to respond to each individual trolling comment. I could block people, but you know, it's easy for them to make another fake account. So I want to say to my subscribers at this particular time, because I am having to deal with a lot of this, if I'm slow in getting back to comments, if I don't get back to your comment, please don't take it personally. I may even temporarily at least change the angle whereby I have engagement with honest subscribers simply in live streams. I really, really, really don't want to go down the line of blocking comments on videos. I really don't. And I don't think I will. But I may have to, for temporarily at least, just avoid responding to comments in general. Because the problem is, I may have a few decent comments and then I get, you know, a lot of these trolling comments. So it's a question of responding to the decent ones versus then having to be subjected to this crap. And as a creator, it is tiresome. It is time consuming. But I want to be able to engage with honest subscribers, decent people, and I'm not talking about an echo chamber where everyone agrees. Live streams, you know, the sort of polls I do in my channel, there's platforms for engagement. But honestly, these people are just, they're beyond reason. It's a waste of time me saying I agree with some of their points because they've already decided I'm the enemy. So if sometimes it seems my videos are provocative, it's just a bit of pushback against all the crap I've had to put up with. That's it. I think I'm entitled to that. But I also don't want to give them more oxygen than they deserve. I'm simply making this to explain how I'm going forward with this. I'm probably not going to block comments on every video. I really, really don't want to go down that path because I do believe in free speech and I do want people to be able to leave their thoughts, whether it's agreeing or not. But the truth is I am having to deal with a lot of trolls and it is getting tiresome. These people are cards. They are beyond reason. They don't bother to think I might actually agree with them if they actually took a minute to listen. And if they acted in a more civil way, then they might find I would respond in a civil way. But people who are going to hurl abuse at me from behind their fake accounts don't deserve my respect, and they don't deserve my attention. Anyway, that's my experience. It's unfortunate, but I want to say to my subscribers, this is unfortunately what I'm having to put up with. It comes with the territory. I think other creators will probably have to put up with similar things, but I don't see the point of trying to reason with these people. They're not interested in debate. They're really, really not. All they're trying to do is get under my skin. All they're trying to do is tear me down to affect my confidence. They're going to fail because I'm not giving up the channel. I'm not going to give up what I'm doing. But it is tiresome. And that's it. So I stand by everything I've said 100%. If you are one of the said trolls, thank you for giving me such attention. I mean, that's an irony. They say that I'm an idiot. They say I'm insignificant. They say I'm a self-hating, blah blah, all the rest of it. Well, if I am those things, why are you devoting so much time to a relatively small channel? Does that make sense? I mean, are you taking a break from all the manure you're throwing at the Labour Party or Keir Starmer? Are you taking a little break from that? I mean, you people need to get a hobby. Go and do something fun, you know? What bitter people you are. I mean, what's it like being you? I genuinely almost feel sorry for them. Almost. Because to live in such ignorance and hate and spite, it must be exhausting for them. I don't know. Anyway, that's the situation. Um, if you are a supporter, I really appreciate it, but this is what I've had to put up with, and it is just noticeable. And it is overwhelmingly from the right, even though I make videos clearly advocating tough justice, clearly advocating critique of woke ideology and all the rest of it. Not enough for these people. No, they've decided I'm a woke leftist and they want to attack me. I mean, it's a bizarre level of derangement when you get so hyped up by someone simply saying that racists have been emboldened. I'm not even talking about the protesters over the Novak case, but they don't think with the few brain cells that they have that that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking specifically about racist incidents. Racist incidents. There's also, has to be said, this sort of right-wing political correctness whereby racism in the far right are denied. I may actually make a video covering that. But I'm done with this. I won't be giving them any more attention anytime soon, but I'm just making this for the sake of my subscribers. I'm not going to block comments on all videos, but if I'm not responding to comments, please understand why. You can engage with me in live streams, you can engage in polls that I do online, but I may be just lessening comments that I respond to for a while. Hope you can understand. Thank you.